Thank you very much, Nova, and fantastic to be back here again in person after a couple of years off. So NAFI is in its 20th anniversary of providing fire information for the North, so quite an achievement. This is 2022 as it looks across Australia, so NAFI is now mapping 80% of Australia, and we can see in Central Australia this year quite a few fires due to those the last few years of very wet La Nina years. Peter wanted me to say that SAVBAT will be online. When was that, Peter? Later today. So everyone hanging out and do their carbon abatement calculations. It will be up very soon. So looking back at 2022 in a little bit more detail, I've created this hotspot animation which hopefully will work. Let's see if it's going to run. Here we go. So very early in the year we can see there was some early birding in Kakadu and across the Gulf country there. It went quiet for a little bit until people started sort of picking up their birding, particularly in March and through Kimberley. In April, and we were getting those excellent hard work mitigation burns across the Kimberley and the top end. There was one or two fires that went a little bit further than people hoped for. There's that one up in North Kimberley there. I think there was a fire that snuck out of Bradshaw training area. You see that one coming in, and a couple through East Kimberley there. And then people sort of finishing off their early season burning. We had a big fire, get out of the way, out of control, South Kimberley, the Cape there. Also that Bradshaw fire sort of kept trickling along up through Western Top End. Then in October we had some of those really extreme heatwave conditions, and we were seeing really difficult weather right through the East Kimberley. Had fire go through Jutburra there, Jutburra National Park, VRD, but also really challenging conditions in East Kimberley and right across that latitude through the Gulf and right across the Cape there. So I think emphasising the point from the Bureau earlier that those more extreme fire weather days really were challenging for a lot of our fire managers, and that's going to be an issue going forwards. But overall, not a bad year. The outcome was really quite good. So let's have a look going back. So here we can see a graph of early dry season burns in blue and the late dry season burns in red after July. And 2020 was a bit of an anomalous year where some of the best outcomes people have ever seen due to primarily due to some really nice early rains. 2022, slightly less fire than 21, and getting back to what we were seeing in 2019. So yeah, really not a bad outcome overall. So just seeing how that looked, going back to 2020, that's that particularly good year, and very few fires across that southern Savanna belt. 2021, slightly bigger. We can see that most of the late dry season fires are across that sort of lower region. And once again, 2022, last year, not too bad. Now, if we move up into the higher rainfall zone, where a lot of us, you guys are working, and have a look at the outcome there, we can see in the Kimberley, slightly more burnt, only 60% unburnt, but overall only 13% that high rainfall zone in the Kimberley burnt late in the dry season. So really overall not a bad outcome. Over the NT, slightly more burnt again, but once again less burnt in that late dry season, and most of that was that big fire that came through the Western Top End. So through most of the top end high rainfall zone, a really excellent outcome due to hard work of people putting in those early dry season mitigation burns. Moving over to the Cape, very similar 21 to 2022. So almost exactly the same outcomes, 2/3 not burned, around 20% burnt late in the year. But a lot of those fires were down in the southern Cape, in that region, which is very, very fire prone and very difficult to control. And just to emphasise what we're talking about in the early dry season burns, those mitigation burns, they're generally small and patchy across the landscape, and those later fires are those really big, more severe ones generally. So that's what we're comparing, those outcomes. Now, I've brought this map up in the past and I've updated it again, but I just want to emphasise what this shows. So it's a comparison of fire frequency between 2000 and 2006, so quite a while ago. So 7 years, we've looked at the number of fires and compared them to the fire frequency over the last 7 years, well, at least from 2015 and to 2021. And all the green areas is where there is less fire across northern Australia. And that is around 640,000 square kilometres of country across northern Australia, there is less fire. And that's just, as far as I know, the most remarkable achievement of fire management anywhere in the world at the moment. And everybody is here to discuss the details of how we can improve fire management, and everyone is working hard to try and make things better. But I think it's just useful sometimes to sort of step back, zoom out, and just acknowledge the fact that under these more severe climate weather conditions, so these last 7 years where we're seeing these much less fire is under much more difficult conditions, we're seeing these remarkable outcomes. It just astounds me watching what you guys do from space to see the incredible achievements you've made. And that's a similar, slightly larger area of reduced late dry season fires. So I find this graphic really useful for whenever people say, oh, but when I drive down the road from Kununurra to Lake Ord, I see lots of fires, or when I drive down the road to Katherine, I see lots of fires. You need to use something like this and zoom out and say, well, actually, we do the best fire management in the world, and here is the proof. If we just sort of zoom in a little bit using the same graphic to the most intensive fire areas, we're seeing similar outcomes. Across northern Australia, around 50% of the country is seeing much less fire, and only a small proportion is seeing more fire. It's always important to investigate why those regions are seeing more fire, but I know everyone's doing that and looking hard into that. So I want to mention that I think these NAFI fire graphics and those hotspot animations are quite useful resources for people who are wanting to communicate the outcomes of their fire management. So if you jump on NAFI, the first thing you see is that information hub, and that's where we've put a direct link to all of those fire mapping resources, and I put them up there so anyone can pull them up and help you tell others the story of the remarkable work that you're doing in the north. And that's all for me. Thank you very much.